This is an interview of Lori Moon. She's a 53-year-old nurse practitioner who specializes in behavioral health and works specifically with children. She grew up on Lopez Island in the San Juan Islands here in Washington. She has lived all over the United States as well as in London. She currently resides in Colbert, Washington with her husband and 3 dogs, Sherman, Lucy, and Bella. She is my wonderful mom.
I define feminism in a woman being confident and knowledgeable enough that she knows that she can do anything she wants to do. She can pick anything she wants to pick, and I believe that she should have the right to do that. Several, and they're kind of varied. I had a mom who was the traditional mom of the 50s. She stayed home and was a stay-at-home mom, and a dad who supported the family. And so I think that played hugely into sort of my early years of gender roles. But on the flip side of that, every single day I think that I can remember they told us that we could be anything that we wanted to be. So my mom was a stay-at-home mom because she wanted to be. Prior to that, she had her degree as a teacher, and my dad had a master's. The thing that was most important to them was not necessarily anything affiliated with gender. It was more that we got an education, and that was hugely important in our family. I can remember from very early years, I wanted to be my brother, not a boy, so I asked for a BB gun at 10, and I asked for a 22 at 12, and I just wanted to be everything he was. So I don't know, it was kind of funny. Even though I was in a traditional home, they were encouraging us just to shoot for the stars.
My mother's family is a picture-perfect representation of what exactly Makers was talking about. My grandma actually always jokes that she went to college just in case she didn't meet her husband, which is exactly what Makers touches on. Women of the 50s and 60s went to college just in case they needed a fallback plan. That was my grandma, and my mother was raised in a home exactly like the documentary talks about, where the male is the moneymaker and the female stays at home and takes care of the children.
I think that when I was younger, there's been huge change as far as gender roles from when I was probably, exiting high school till now. And because I'm in medicine, and that was what I always wanted to be in, that was sort of where I think I paid most attention to the changes. So when I was young and just leaving high school, females generally were encouraged to be more nurses, and there were far more doctors that were male than female. And as the years have passed, now you see it at 50-50. And as far as, when you look at people who go into medicine, you see far more women doctors now, and that's probably 50-50, but you're seeing more of, probably in the last 15 years, you see more male nurses, which is really nice too. I think my most challenging experience as a woman was going back and getting my master's as a single mom. But it didn't have anything to do with being a woman. It had everything to do with being busy and feeling at the age of 42 like maybe I wasn't smart enough to go back, and the worries and you start to talk yourself out of things. At least I did. So it had nothing to do with being a female and everything to do with courage. Education is power to me. I think that the more knowledgeable, articulate, and educated we are, that is where power is, because it's in bright minds. People don't always choose to, use that for power, but I believe, in my mind, that holds the power. No, I don't think they have to work harder, but I think that a lot of times we are, and especially in my generation, we were taught to, be kind, be good, be nice as a gender role, And it's sort of when you are taught over and over to, be gentle or be nice, it is sometimes hard to be willing to stand up and verbalize something outward that you're afraid may hurt feelings. And part of that is important in it, if you're going to you're talking about power, there is a lot of need for the ability to stand up and confidently exert yourself and express yourself. So I think that that can be difficult. I think social media is a huge problem because it's not how social media presents women, it's how women present themselves on social media. You see so much, just women of all ages showing the perfect world or the perfect home or the perfect life, and they have this need to make everything appear perfect in their lives. And so it's not social media, social media is the avenue that they use. But when we do this, and we do it in the media all the time, is we're setting people up for thinking that they are less than perfect, or that they need to be a certain way. They need to be thin, they need to be beautiful, they need to have, flawless skin and perfect hair and a perfect body. And they do it in the media, it's already done for us, but then we do it to ourselves in social media.
Who were some of your role models growing up, and what did you admire about them?
My mom and my dad. Sorry. I admired their faith. I admired how much they loved each other and how kind they were to each other. And I admired the fact that, especially with my dad, that he taught me not to judge. You don't judge people. And I just, everything about them I admire. I admire how hard they taught us to work, how much, how they always explained that it was just so important to get an education. I remember my dad would always say there are certain things that people can never take from you. They can't take away your faith, and they can't take away your knowledge. I do, and it's hard because when I'm answering these questions, I'm talking about the United States, and it's so different in other areas of the world. Expectations for women now, they're just very different than they were.
Do you think the expectation is harder to meet now? That there's more pressure to that?
I do in some ways. I think it was harder back then if a woman wanted to be, like, say, a physician. I think she had more obstacles. And I believe that those type of obstacles have been removed. But I believe that if a woman wants to be the CEO of a company and also wants to be a mother, I believe it's harder because we have sort of this idea in our head that I can be everything and to be the best at everything at all times, and that is very, very difficult to do.
I have found a role model too. My mother grew up and chose a career dedicating her life to healing others. She showed strength and perseverance after getting divorced and going back to grad school. Since then, she has remarried to my stepdad. And while they may stick to and believe in most of the traditional gender roles, where she does a lot of the cleaning and he does a lot of the outside work, they also don't follow it because my mother's the breadwinner and my stepdad stays at home much more often. My mother is a very insightful and wonderful woman for believing that women should be able to do anything they want. Ultimately, my mother doesn't label herself as a feminist or anything else for that matter because I believe she thinks there's a tone of judgment that comes along with these labels. My mom does believe in feminism and that we as women should have power, and that is one of the most encouraging things as a daughter to hear.